Welcome back to the Chanukah Torah Bytes at the Young Israel of Lawrence-Cedarhurst. Thank you for joining us on this journey where we try to deepen our experience of Yom Tov as we go in with the Divine Torah every single night. Let's start off with tonight. I'd like to introduce you to a question that I was asked by a high school girl in our shul, and I thought it was a really fascinating insight and perspective. She asked the following question: how do we view what we're going through today, the exhaustion, the exertion, physically, spiritually, emotionally, that Israel, as we feel besieged around the world, how do we contrast that? How do we process that, considering Chanukah, where Chanukah everything seemed to be so clean, the miracles were so precise, and yet it continues today? That was the question. And on the one hand, it does seem like a very difficult question to answer. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that in fact, they're actually pretty similar. And that is, if you read the book of Maccabees, if you read what happened before and after the Chanukah story, you'll notice that it was no simple story at all. There were battles leading up to, and there were battles that ensued afterwards. Many Jews were killed, many Jews killed Jews. There were many civil wars during, many civil wars before and after the Chanukah story. In fact, the Hashmonaim themselves ultimately had many civil wars and were totally wiped out later on by Herod, by their own servant. A very complicated story indeed. And so to think that today it's complex and then it was simple is not clear, is not actually a reflection of the truth. Today is complex and then was complex. And sometimes today is even simpler than it was then. But there's more to it. And that is, the Gemara describes this. The Gemara in Shabbos, which describes the institution of Chanukah as a holiday, uses the following words. It says, L'shana acheres, the year afterwards, or the time period afterwards, Kava'um, the Chachamim, the sages, took these days and established them as a ritual, as a festival, as a way of commemorating miracles. And it got me thinking. You see, sometimes you need to have L'shana Acheres. Sometimes you need to have a little bit of time to have the perspective, to be able to process, and to be able to ritualize what it is that you went through. In fact, if you think about how they expressed and commemorated the first Chanukah, it is most likely had nothing to do with the way that we do it today. Most likely, all the Jews who were able to came up to the Beis Hamikdash and celebrated there, which was the place that Chanukah occurred, the miracles of Chanukah occurred. The idea of having the menorah in everybody's house, that was a later day invention, after the diaspora, after there was the exile 200 years later. That was what we'll call a domesticated expression of the expression of this, which means to say that it takes time to appreciate, to ritualize, to gain perspective on experiences that we have gone through. And so too now. On the one hand, we think to ourselves, wow, this has been dragging on so long. This war is so exhausting. It's hard to even read the news. Jews are besieged wherever they are around the world. It feels so threatening, it feels so difficult. Yet, we're still in it. We're still in it. And sometimes when you're in it, you don't appreciate all the things. Just think about one point. A year ago at this time, we were all thinking about the looming threat from the north. We were thinking about this terrible attack that would happen if Hezbollah attacked the mass casualty event, if they attack military and civilian targets at the same time. And think about the miracles that have occurred. Think about the 2 attacks, ballistic missiles from Iran, and the fact that we were blessed to be saved on the whole from the damages and the human life casualty events that were going to happen. There's so many miracles, but let us take the patience and realize that we're still in the story. We need L'shana Acheres. We need a year later. We need time later to be able to process and to put together all the pieces and realize that we're living truly in miraculous times. And it's with that patience that we see miracles. May we celebrate this Chanukah, and may we gain the perspective as time goes on to be able to celebrate truly Hanisim, those miracles by Mimahem, Bazman Hazeh, in those days and in our days alike. Have a meaningful and wonderful Chanukah.